Join us live on the Sherry Lord Talk Show podcast. Start your day off with the Higher Vibrational Podcast with weekly guests covering spirituality, healthy foods, and so much more. Go to sherrylord.com for more info. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. We are so excited. And I'm your host, Sherry Lord, International Psychic Medium. We are so excited. We have a wonderful guest and wonderful topics. And we have Kristi Borst. She's been on our show before, and we love having her. And her topic for today that we're going to go over will be, rather than avoid trauma, embrace it. This is going to be a really good topic because it's really needed. Everybody had something somewhere, and they tend to avoid it instead of looking at it. And she's also a collaborator, is an author of Unmuted Voices. And we'll talk a little bit about her book. You want to make sure you get her book and the collective group who participated in the group in this wonderful book. And we'll be bringing that up. Welcome, Kristi. We're so happy to have you on our show again.
Thanks, Sherry. I appreciate you asking me to join you. I always enjoy the talks and sharing things that are going to help others because ultimately we're lifting one another.
Exactly. And this is a really good topic. And, you know, our audience loves the stories of the real stories that's happened to people so they can relate to it a little bit more and have a better understanding. And can you explain a little bit about the topic or go a little bit more in details or examples of some of the people you've helped?
Sure.
And yourself.
I'm sorry?
And for yourself, too.
Okay. Yeah. So I do a lot of inner child healing work. So when things happen to us when we're a child or when we're children, we are pretty much disempowered to be able to process that to a large extent. So that's part of the gift that I have, is being able to kind of understand that because of my own childhood and to help the person get beyond that point. As I was kind of preparing for this, I took a picture of my hair because I was, excuse me, I was trying to decide if I should do something different with my hair.
Okay.
And I had a picture of me and then my back in the mirror, and then it was in the phone, like multiple pictures of me. Have you ever had that where you take your picture in front of the mirror and it just keeps repeating?
Yep.
So that message of the infinite mirror came to me, where, you know, really we know who we are when we're born, but then everybody starts telling us, you know, we can't be this, we can't be that, we have to be this. And so our view of ourselves starts getting distorted, just like that infinite mirror. So the work that I'm doing, and really the point of this talk today, is to help people understand their own perspective of themselves, because that's where our power is to change. I have this on my desk, and I saw this morning. So we have to see what's going on to seize the opportunity. And really, because of like the kind of yin yang aspect of this world, things that we see as negative or challenges can ultimately be our greatest opportunity. So to get to your question about an example, on Thanksgiving, I was talking with my husband, and I was kind of thinking about when our children were little, and every Thanksgiving and Christmas, major holidays, we would go on the road because we lived 3 to 4.5 hours away from family. So we'd, pack up the kids and drive through all kinds of weather because we live in New England. And I said to him, hon, I so appreciate that you took, so much care in driving us, making sure we were safe, making sure everybody was comfortable. And after I said that, I had a flashback memory of being in the car as a child. And my stepdad was driving and he had had too much to drink. And my mother was yelling at him, pull over, you're going to kill everybody. And I had forgotten that memory, but it was served back to me in a way that I could see my fear in that moment, my helplessness, my lack of control. And I kind of took this a step further and I said to myself, okay, so that was a trauma. How did that change the way that I am behaving now? And what I could see is that I have some social anxiety about drinking. If I don't have to go anywhere, it's fine. But if I'm out with people, I get anxious about how much they're drinking, if they're, even if they're not driving me. And so I could kind of see how that story in that moment was impacting me. So, so that's work that we can do. So that's kind of a process I want to talk about more as we get into this. But I'll just pause for a second and see if you want to comment or ask about any of that.
No, I think it's great because people need tools of how to resolve it. You know what I'm saying? They want to know, how do I resolve this? And I want to say thank you to Kristen and all the people who are watching and all the people who are chatting. Make sure you say hello and you can ask a question too. But yeah, no, it's people want to know, okay, I have a trauma. How do I dissolve it? How do I move beyond this?
Yes. So in this particular instance, or I guess what I would say is, I want to go a little bit more into these traumas. I want to explain more about what happens. So whether it's that you have a situation where somebody plants this seed in you that says you're not enough, or conversely, you're too much, you're just too much. Or there's a sense of rejection, or a sense of loss, a sense of shame, or as I pointed out in this situation, a sense of feeling unsafe. So as I kind of go into this, this situation I'm talking about, I can go to that aspect of myself that's the child that is remembering or holding on to that feeling of lack of control, feeling of not being taken care of, feeling of unsafety. And I can show myself my present self and say, look, you were safe. You made it. You're loved, you're treasured. And it's not just like a one and done thing. I've been visiting this since Thanksgiving. And just like allowing myself, first of all, to feel those feelings that I wasn't able to feel in that moment because I wasn't given the opportunity to even say that I was afraid, right? So we can be so afraid of what that feeling is that we just keep pushing it down. And, this is like a good analogy here. Here's that pushing down energy. We just keep stuffing things. And when we're doing that, it's creating almost like a static within us, within our autoimmune system even, that can keep our body from being the amazing self-healing machine that it is. So through the work that I do, which is many times in the childhood layers, in the emotional layers, people can affect their physical health because the non-physical really comes first. The thought, the feeling, the vision. And many times the fear of the feeling is more intense than the feeling itself.
Yes.
So, in that moment when I had that memory of my child self, really, we had gone to a party. It was like I was playing with kids. I had just met all these kids. I was so happy, and like this wonderful, happy, like one of the best days of my life transitioned to be like one of the worst, right? Mm-hmm. So I can kind of show myself, again, what I know now, the yin and the yang, the woundings that we go through, and how as we kind of find those, we can free ourselves from them and become more empowered, more at ease, more understanding of our own self and our idiosyncrasies, so that then we have a choice whether or not to engage with some of the beliefs that are keeping us smaller or contained. So again, like as I had that memory, I actually like cried for a moment, not because I was, that girl, but just because I had so much empathy for myself in that space, right? And even saying to the child self and speaking out loud is so powerful, because you've heard of sound healing. Well, your voice has sound, your voice has vibration. So it's even more powerful than your thoughts. So, saying to myself as that child, you are so safe. You are so loved and treasured. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry you felt unsafe. I will take care of you. I will love you. I will protect you. It's so powerful, Sherry.
It's amazing. And how has it helped you since you've done that? What have you noticed since then?
Well, I think, as I mentioned just a little bit ago, I had the epiphany of, why do I act this way? Why do I feel anxious in this situation? Right. Now that I know why, and I see that it isn't really even in this moment, I can start to diffuse it. I can start to decide, okay, now I understand why I'm acting this way. No, I don't have to feel this way.
Right. Exactly. Because you have the choice there, because you understand it,
And that's, again, it's see. I see it. Now I'm going to seize it. So I think a lot of times for people in the situation, with loss, whether that's someone that physically, their body dies and they transition to another realm, or somebody rejecting them and going out of their life. That can be really painful, especially if part of our identity or part of our self-worth is tied to that person. If it's a spouse, for example, if we feel that now who's going to love me? Now who's going to see me, right? But there is a higher perspective that we can go to to understand that love never dies.
Yeah.
The body dies, but the person's love, spirit, soul transitions. So if we close that door and we say, you know, they're not with me anymore, they don't love me, they're not, like, we're the one that's like almost like closing the door to that love to keep come to us. So I would suggest, in the case of loss, sometimes that soul steps forward to give us space to be more than what we were allowing ourselves to be, or daring to be with that other person. So try to see how you can stretch yourself, realizing that that person may have stepped aside for you, rather than that they rejected you, or they left you because you weren't worthy. They left you because you were worthy. There was perhaps more that you're supposed to do for and of yourself.
Yeah, a lot of people, they have an issue with worthiness. A lot of people do.
And I think that goes back to the situation of birth, where we come into our human form knowing that we're part of God, source, all that is, knowing that we're infinite, knowing that we're eternal, and then people start saying, oh, you're just this, or you're just that, or no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that. So we kind of lose our sense of self, and that can, yes, feel like unworthiness. But again, when you start to see that as a story, or even as a trauma, or as a wounding, you can start to say, okay, how can I move through this and beyond this?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And again, like, if you picture that yin and yang symbol, right? Mm-hmm. We kind of see the insides, but that whole thing, that whole energy is held within a circle. It's contained. It's contained by balance. So if we always see the negative of something, we're missing the huge opportunity over here in the positive of it. So all of these challenges present maybe our greatest opportunities for growth, for love. You know, in the case of somebody rejecting us as, you know, a person or a friend or a family member, that can be a trauma, and that can trigger those unworthy feelings. But if we can understand that endings happen to herald new beginnings, we can kind of say, okay, I understand this or that from this situation. I want more and better. Mm-hmm. And if we start to open ourselves, rather than stay in this, you know, this place of why didn't they, why, you know, maybe it didn't work out because there's someone better. Mm-hmm. You know, I think we see this in relationships, you know, relationships don't work out, but then we meet our person and we're like, oh, okay, I understand now why all these other people didn't work out. So I think to start to understand that when a relationship, whether it's a friend, a family, whatever, it's calling you to focus more on the people who do love and support you, or to open yourself for those new relationships to come in and fill the void of that lower resonance relationship that has ended.
That's really good advice for a lot of our people who are watching, our audience. That is wonderful. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Well, again, it's endings. When you see numerology, 9 is an ending, but what comes next? A 1. So just to really embrace the endings rather than fearing them or feeling, you can have a bad feeling about it, but don't stay anchored in that. Like, the sooner you transition out of that ending, the sooner you start a new cycle with a beginning. I do want to do a little energy process with people. If we can do that for just a couple minutes, Sherry.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
We have time.
All right. So I want you to, close your eyes and just kind of focus on your own self. And I just want to tell you that in my healing resonance energy, people do become aware of their bumps and bruises, but I am not aware. So you have privacy in this moment to really just be with yourself and to be present with what you're feeling. Now, I want you to kind of look at whatever it is that may have attracted you to this subject, whether that is a loss, whether it's a hard time loving yourself or accepting yourself, whether it's a specific traumatic incident. And I want you to understand that that part of yourself may be stuck in that story of what happened. They may be seeing that infinite mirror view of themselves, which is really distorted from what the truth is. Sometimes when we're traumatized by others, we can think that they did it on purpose. We can think that, we can make up all kinds of stories about what happened. So what I would like you to do is just hold yourself in that moment and just feel total unconditional love for that child self, for that younger self, and realize how supported you have been in the time since that happened. And as I was prepping for the show, there was a real grandmother energy that was coming through. So just realize that even people who are no longer in body, their energy, their love may be, surrounding you in this moment. And certainly love of source, God, all that is with you in every moment. And, maybe there are some boundaries that you can, either create within your life based on this circumstance, or maybe you have you created boundaries in that moment that now you can melt. And I want you to just imagine the energy around you that was so kind of bound up and held, to just let it relax. Take a nice deep breath and blow out. This is your opportunity to create a new beginning for yourself, to level up in a way in which you reject within yourself limitations or negative self-talk that keeps you small and keeps you held in that energy of unlovability or unworthiness. Because just the fact that you are here in body proves to me that you are so important. You are needed. And the more you can kind of see the limitations you've placed on yourself and release those, the more you step forward to be that vibration, that energy, that light that you are here to be. You know, Sherry, a lot of times people want to know what their purpose is. And I think sometimes we overcomplicate it. It's not so much about doing, it's about being. It's about who you're here to be, the energy that you seed on the earth as you walk through this world.
That was beautiful. Thank you. I also I think the audience will get a lot out of this. All of us did, including myself. But what I think is really wonderful, I want to bring up your book. I mean, you are collaborated with a book with many people, and you are an author. But I want you to bring this up so that you can let people know how they can get a hold of your book.
Okay.
And I like it's unmuted voices. I think this is really important.
This was a very pivotal book project for me in that I didn't really acknowledge that I had such a painful childhood until I dove into writing in this book. My chapter is called The Vibe to Thrive. And I actually talk about some of the things, I go into more detail about some of the things we've talked about today, but there are integrative exercises offered by not only me, but the 12 other authors in this book, women who have their own story of how their voice was muted, how they weren't allowed to be that aspect of Source God, all that is, that we are each here to be. So I do offer signed copies through my website, but the book is also available in hard copy or digital download through Amazon.
Oh, that is wonderful. That is so wonderful. It's a really good read. I really recommend her book. And how can people get a hold of you, Kristi?
My website is releasingyourblocks.com. I also have the handle Healing Resonance LLC on Instagram and Facebook. I have a YouTube channel, so but I would appreciate connecting with people or having, feedback on how you experienced this today. Just realize that with energy work, it's not just like this moment, right? It's not just those couple moments that we shared. That energy is going to continue to do its work within you as you allow yourself to kind of expand your field and clear your field.
Yeah, that is wonderful. Well, that's wonderful. We so enjoyed the wealth of information and tools, and the energy session was lovely. Thank you so much for being on our show. And again, go to www.sherrylord.com. And we also have Kristi's information there. You can also click on it to get to her website, as well as looking at the upcoming guests that we have coming on. We just want to say thank you to our audience for watching us. And also to Kristi, thank you for being a part of our show and all the wealth of information that you had shared with our audience. Thank you so much. And we will definitely see you again.